Hello and welcome. Thank you for being here and investing your time in improving your English and yourself. There is a difficult truth that many English learners do not want to accept. You are not really weak in English, you are just speaking in a way that makes it sound like a test. You may know a lot of vocabulary and you may be good at grammar exercises, but when you speak, everything feels broken, like you never learned it. You often know a simple sentence, but still stop for a few seconds before speaking it. And this is not because you are bad, but because you try to speak English like writing. And the more you try to be correct in every word, the less natural your speaking becomes. At some point, you will realize you are not afraid of English itself. You are afraid of speaking it in front of other people. And from that moment, the journey to speaking like a native speaker really begins. There is something very common for many English learners. You understand a lot, but cannot speak fluently. When you listen, everything feels simple, but when it is your turn to speak, your sentences become slow and broken. You often start a sentence confidently, but later you slow down because you must think about each word. The problem is not that you do not know English. The problem is that you try to control everything in your mind while speaking. Native speakers do not do this. They speak by reflex, not by rules. And this difference creates a big gap between knowing English and speaking English. Sometimes you wonder why you study for so long but still cannot speak well, but the answer is in the way you practice. You learn to be correct, but they learn to communicate. And these two goals create two very different ways of speaking. If you look closely at native speakers, you will see they do not speak in a perfect textbook way. They often use small words like, you know, or well in daily speech. These words do not make the grammar more correct, but they make the speech feel more natural. And interestingly, listeners do not feel annoyed by them. They actually feel the speech is more real. Many learners try to remove these words because they think they are not important. But this imperfection is what makes speech sound natural. When you only speak perfect grammar sentences, you sound like you are reading, not communicating. Real communication always has pauses and small filler words like this. When you accept this, your speaking style will start to change. One reason people speak slowly is because they think too much about grammar tenses. They stop in the middle of a sentence to decide past, present, or future. But native speakers do not think like this when they talk. They use tenses naturally based on time feeling, not grammar rules. This helps their speech flow smoothly without stopping. If you think too much about grammar while speaking, you will always be slower, and this slow speed makes you feel less confident. Instead of focusing on grammar rules, you should focus on your message. In real communication, people care more about what you say than your tense. When you change this mindset, your speaking speed will improve naturally. There is a method many good English speakers use called shadowing. You listen to a sentence and repeat it immediately without translating in your head. At first, it feels very difficult because you cannot react fast. But this difficulty is what helps your brain learn real speaking speed. When you do shadowing many times, you stop speaking word by word and start speaking in chunks. And this is when your English becomes more natural. You no longer need to think, what is this word, because your mouth already knows it. It's like learning to drive. At first, you think a lot, but later it becomes automatic. Shadowing works in the same way for speaking English, and it is one of the most important steps to speak more fluently. Native speakers do not say each word separately when they speak. Their words are often connected naturally. This makes their speech sound like a smooth flow instead of separate pieces. But many learners try to pronounce each word clearly, and this makes their speech sound broken. When you learn linking words, you start to feel more smoothness in speaking. You don't need to speak fast, but you need to speak connected, and this connection is what makes speech sound native-like. At first, it feels strange, but with practice, it becomes natural. And when you get used to it, English will no longer feel like separate words. One important thing many learners ignore is intonation. You can pronounce words correctly, but if your intonation is wrong, your speech still sounds robotic. Native speakers do not speak in a flat voice. They stress important words and reduce others. This rhythm creates emotion in speech. When you hear natural intonation, you feel the speaker is confident. But if the voice is flat, the speech feels lifeless. This does not come from knowledge, but from listening and copying many times. When you learn intonation, you not only speak correctly, but also speak with feeling. And this is an important step to sound more natural. There is a simple way many people ignore, which is listening to natural English speakers every day. Not just to understand meaning, but to feel how they speak. When you listen enough, your brain starts to remember their rhythm, pauses, and intonation. Kyung V mentioned learning from people like Rosé and Jennie, not to copy style, but to feel natural speaking flow. And when you are exposed enough, you will be influenced naturally. You don't need to change everything in one day. Just a little practice every day will make a big difference over time. And the most important thing is that you will start speaking without feeling tense. In the end, what makes you speak English naturally is not how many grammar rules you know. It's whether you are willing to speak without fear of making mistakes. Fluency does not come from perfection, but from feeling comfortable to continue speaking. When you stop trying to be perfect in every word, you start to sound more human. And at that moment, English is no longer a subject, but a way to connect with the world. You don't need to be perfect to speak English well. You just need to be someone who dares to speak and keeps speaking even if not perfect. If you find this video interesting and helpful, please give me a like and subscribe.